Alright, thank you very much. Hello everybody. Yes, it's your good friend Pozzible here, and I'm back in action, doing what I do best. A good old-fashioned movie review, thanks to Netflix. And today we're going to get back with Legend of the Fist, Return of Chen Zehn. You know, Chen Zehn is one of those interesting characters. He's like a Robin Hood of the Chinese people. He's basically a fictional character, but he has his roots in reality. And this one, a lot of people say that it's basically the sequel to The Legend of the Fist with Jet Li. However, I had my own take on what this one was actually about. And it's very important that you first understand the history of this movie before you actually get into the movie itself, because it definitely makes a lot more sense then. You know, you kind of watch it, you get this sense that there's more to the story, but they don't do a good enough job telling you about it in advance. You get it at the end. Then you get the big aha, but I felt like it would have been better if I would have watched this, understood some of this stuff beforehand. Here, and there are going to be some spoilers ahead for these other movies, but not so much for this movie. Okay, so from here, you got to understand that this whole thing takes place after the time of Fearless. Fearless is where Jet Li plays a martial arts master during the time of China. Now, his story is a true story. Even though the events of it are heavily fictionalized, his story is about China trying to maintain its identity through extreme outside influences from Russia, from Britain, and especially Japan. Now, the martial arts master here is killed, and that brings us to the next movie, which is The Chinese Connection, also known as Fist of Fury, where basically Bruce Lee comes back to China trying to find out who killed his master. The funny thing about this movie is you got to remember how it ended. It ended with Bruce Lee going into a school, having this humongous fight with every other martial artist in that school, and ultimately getting out. And when he gets out of the building, there's all these people with guns waiting for him. You're supposed to get the idea that he was shot to death, but you never saw what happened. You just saw the bullets go off. And that brings us, of course, to movies like Legend of the Fist, Fist of Legend, stuff like that, where basically it's now World War I. Chen Zehn is helping his Chinese people stay alive and arm the Allied forces. For some reason, they're not allowed to fight, but they are allowed to, help them out during that case. And it takes all their might, all their mental fortitude, and everything you can imagine, just to stay positive, just to stay alive mentally. Physically, they're exhausted, they're scared. They're in a war zone without weapons, so naturally they're scared. That said, one of his friends dies, and I think Chen Zehn, after all the events that I've just spoke of, they never explained it fully, why he chose to take his friend's name. But he takes his friend's name and he leaves. They survive World War I. Now we're getting more into what's happening here, and this is a part where I'm not too familiar with, because let's face it, growing up in America, they didn't teach me a lot of Chinese history. So didn't understand what it meant to be the second Japanese War. It's an occupation, and this is the moments before the war. The Japanese are just beginning their invasion of China, and China is doing their best to maintain their identity and to keep them out. It's a masterpiece. I mean, it was a really well done movie. Not what I was expecting though, and that was a good thing and a bad thing. Okay, you basically, now we're talking about the actual movie here. The movie takes off where Chen Zehn is going undercover as his oldest dead best friend. And it's funny, people talk about how ridiculous it is that Superman uses glasses to hide his identity. Well, here Chen Zehn, granted he uses the mask, but he also uses the mustache. He takes off his mustache when in action, and he has a mustache when he's trying to be the playboy manager of a fancy club, singing, gambling. He's talking to a person who's in a position of power, but he's undercover. He's trying to find out what the Japanese are planning and how they can stop them. The interesting part that I found was when the Japanese had this list of names of people they wanted assassinated, and all of a sudden they decided to release the names. Like, yeah, let's tell everybody. I guess they wanted them to run. They wanted them to be scared. They wanted to show the people of China that there was nothing they could do to stop them. You know, that the Japanese were in control and that they should just accept it. Stuff like that. That part of the story I felt was ill-defined. I understood where they went for it. It wasn't as exciting as I wanted it to be. I guess in many ways, because he's playing this superhero character, I wanted it to be more one-sided, you know? But they did a good job of showing not only that he was a superhuman, but that he was also human. He wasn't all powerful, so he couldn't really handle the magnitude of what he had to face. And but it ends a lot like how the Fist of Fury ends. And I thought that was interesting. They pulled those two together. Good movie, good fight sequences, excellent fight sequences. I wish it could have been just a little bit better on the fight sequences. One thing that this movie does suffer from, okay, is that too many cooks spoil the broth. Too many backstories, too many sub-stories, too many things going on all at once. And I felt that sometimes when we're in the middle of option C, they're showing us option B, and it feels out of place. Like it really doesn't belong. It's like, you know what, guys, you're throwing in way too much here. And you know, it doesn't excuse the fact that he is human. You know, and they're not trying to hide that fact. They're not trying to make him anything else. If It was amazing to see what this time period was like. The ending, I wish, was a little bit more satisfying. But in the end, it was what it was. It was a good movie. So ultimately, of course, I give this movie a see it. I gotta add niche to it. And when I say niche, believe it or not, I don't just mean martial arts. It wasn't a great martial arts movie. This was a historical drama with martial arts in it. Not a martial arts movie based on a historical drama. A big distinction there. So you're going to get more historical drama, less martial arts here, which is okay. I still enjoyed it, and I think you will too. All right, guys, that's it for me. I hope to see you at the theaters.